Defamation has been on the rise, man. I think a good example of that is Tasha K. She had gotten a lot of trouble with slandering and defaming Cardi B.
Tasha K was found guilty of 2 counts of slander.
Don't make up lies.
Because it's like, you know what? I let the play and talk shit about me, but when you talk shit about my daughter.
For example, MC Light, she could not use the name MC Light. She didn't own it.
There was a rapper in Europe, I guess, that snatched up the name.
There it is, trademarked.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Calvin Russell here. Super excited to have this guest speaker on today. As we always talk about business credit, things of that sort, but here's the problem that I'm starting to realize is that many of you are not doing the proper things to protect your business and to make sure that things are in place, because what good is having the LLC, the business formation, the business credit, if you are not trademarked, if you don't have these things in place? I know nothing about this stuff, but this is, of course, one of my go-tos that I go to for information like this as well. So, of course, I want to introduce you all to attorney Candace. Candace, are you with us today?
Hi, Calvin. How are you?
Doing good, and yourself?
I'm doing awesome.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into this. Here's the thing that I'm starting to see with a lot of people in their businesses. Everyone talks about business credit and getting their LLCs, formation, things of that sort. But what I'm noticing is that a lot of people are not trademarking their businesses. If you could tell us, why should someone trademark their business?
Yes, a lot of reasons why people should trademark their business, but it ultimately boils down to ownership, right? And so typically we want to own things. If we have a house, we want to own it as our asset. If we have a car, we want to own it, because when you have ownership, it gives you the ability to control. You can tell people that they can't use your asset, that they can, and they have to pay you money. So the same goes for trademarks. Trademarks give you ownership over your brand, whatever that brand may be. If it's your business name, if it's your slogan for the business, even if you're an artist and you have a stage name, for example, MC Light, I know she went through a big trademark thing recently because she did not own the name MC Light. She could not use the name MC Light. She didn't own it.
Finally, you just got the rights to your name. How does that feel after all these years?
It feels wonderful because, in this business, they own your name. There was a rapper in Europe, I guess, that snatched up the name. Then we used a very well-accomplished attorney and got it for me.
And so now you own your name.
There it is. There it is, trademarked.
So, I say that to say that it's not just for everyday business owners, it's for any type of brand that you own, right? If you're on social media and you're an influencer, you need to trademark your social media handle, right? Because that's a part of your brand. So when you file the trademark and you get it registered, you effectively become the owner of that particular trademark. And so with the ownership, you're able to stop other people from using that trademark. That way there's no confusion between your brand and other brands. And then you're also able to leverage your brand and license it out to other people that want to use it, right? So you can make them pay you. So it's just like owning a home. If you own a piece of property, you can tell trespassers, hey, you're trespassing, get out of my property. You're not allowed to be here. But you can also rent out your property. You can Airbnb it out and make people pay you to be in your property. So business owners should look at trademarks in the same way. Oftentimes, what I see from a legal perspective is that business owners are quick to start these businesses. They spend a lot of time and energy manifesting a particular business name. And then they wait years and years and years, and they're putting all this time and resources into the business. And then later on, when they realize that they need a trademark, oftentimes that particular business name is already taken. And so then they're faced with the issue of having to A, rebrand, B, exhaust financial resources into challenging the other person's trademark who already got it registered. So it just becomes a bit of a pickle. And then the final thing I'll say about that is many business owners, they are running their business with the end goal of selling the business, right?
Right.
I'm going to tell you right now, one of the first things that any buyer is going to want to know about your business is, do you have the brand trademarked? And I've actually, talked to different business owners who've had their deals stalled because now they got to wait and go and trademark the brand. And then if they go and try to trademark the brand that they're known for and it's taken, now they have to rebrand. And that can really interrupt the sale of the business. So yeah, it's really vital for any business owner to have their trademark.
Wow. You touched on a lot of things during that piece because I've never even heard someone say it makes sense to trademark, like an Instagram handle or and that's the thing, like you said, you work so hard as a business owner to not only create the brand and you come up with the name and all these other things, and then you find out that someone already owns that trademark. So now there was another thing that you was telling me about as well. And there was a story about a client where in which they wanted to go ahead and they saw that a trademark was pending, for example. And can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. So I had a client recently who I had already done a few trademarks for her, but she wanted to proceed with trademarking a slogan for her business. And so when I went to research the slogan, I found that someone else had that same slogan pending with the USPTO, right? So USPTO is just the United States Patent and Trademark Office. So anyway, someone had an application pending for the same slogan. And so it brought us to a point where I had to advise her on you can just throw your hands in the air and say you don't care and just let them have the slogan and you can create another slogan, or we can challenge their trademark application. So whenever you file a trademark application, there are a number of different phases of the application before you actually get it finalized and registered. So during the first phase, it's really just the USPTO doing a preliminary review of the application and determining if it can, move on to the next phase. The next phase is what's called publication. And so at this phase, the USPTO allows anyone in the world to challenge your trademark application. And luckily for us, the infringing application was in publication, right? So you only have a short deadline to challenge. You only have about 30 days to challenge the application. So I gave my client the choices and she wanted to go ahead and challenge the application and fight for her slogan. So that's what we did. And it was also interesting that the application we were challenging listed itself as an intent to use application versus in use. And so when you're claiming that you're in use on your trademark application, it means that you're actively using that trademark right now in commerce, meaning you're holding it out, you're using it to sell some type of goods or services or something like that.
Yeah.
Whereas intent to use means the opposite. It means I intend to do so in the future, but I'm not doing so right now. So the application we challenged, it marked itself on this application as intent to use, which was very strong evidence for us to overcome them or defeat them because my client had been using her slogan for years. So it really boils down to if you can prove that you've been using this particular trademark before the other person, right?
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
that was an interesting case that we were able to jump on and represent for our client.
Wow. Okay. And see, guys, I'm telling you, she knows exactly what she's talking about, and she's had clients that have gone through these things. So that means, of course, if you guys have seen or have started that trademark process, and you see that someone may already have something, the name that you're looking to use, and it is pending, there may be a way around it. And this is exactly where you have to talk to someone that is licensed and they know what they're talking about. And then one last thing, Candace, as well, is that you had mentioned you're starting to see a lot of people kind of go through these defamation, cases and things of that sort, especially as people have businesses and social media and things of that sort. What are some things you could tell the audience about defamation and some things that they should know about?
Defamation has been on the rise, man. I've been getting a lot of calls to look into and possibly represent some defamation cases. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of people speak freely or write things online without thinking about the repercussions of it, right? So you have to be careful when you're speaking about someone else, or if you're writing something online about someone, you have to think, hey, do I know for sure what I'm saying is true? Because if not, then that's grounds for defamation, right? Defamation of character. And so I was telling you earlier about one of my clients who had a former business partner show up to one of his in-person events, basically trying to poach some of his students from the event. And in attempting to poach the students, that former business partner was basically defaming my client, spreading rumors, and slandering him, spreading lies and things like that. And so he handled it very well because he came directly to me and allowed me to take the legal approach. And so I just sent out a nice little cease and desist and notice of intent to sue, and then all of the bad behavior stopped. But it's really important on how you handle it, because some people might react emotionally and maybe try to get physical, or engage in their own, online slandering and back and forth. Things can get really nasty with this online social media, and also in person, right? It could have went a totally different route. But my client was sophisticated enough to say, hey, let me call my attorney and let her jump on this. So we were able to get it resolved. But that's a huge thing nowadays with the social media world. I think a good example of that is Tasha K. She had gotten a lot of trouble with slandering and defaming Cardi B.
Because it's like, you know what? I let the play and talk about me. But when you talk about my daughter.
Cardi B has won close to $4 million.
You have to be careful of people's reputation. Cardi B is a huge star, and you can't just say anything about anyone just because you feel like it.
Don't make up lies.
And talking about her health status and things like that. And now, she has a $1 million judgment against her. So that's a good example of you have to be very careful what you say about people, what you say about their businesses, because if they want to take it to the next level, they can sue you. And if what you're saying about them is untrue, then 9 times out of 10, that person's going to win a judgment against you. And we just don't want those extra problems, right?
Absolutely. And it's huge that you touched on that, because I think that people only look at like bigger companies as having that problem. And like you said, it could be any business, any size can easily have that same problem. But it's also something that you mentioned too. Bigger companies, they have attorneys on retainer. They have attorneys ready to go for things like that. And I think small business owners don't look at themselves as, oh, I don't need that until it's too late, right? But no, thank you so much for giving us that information as well. And guys, of course, Candace always shares some legal tips and some of her advice on other big stories on her YouTube channel as well too. So thanks again, Candace, for stopping by. We greatly appreciate you sharing the knowledge.
You're welcome.